just in case.
Cool.
Perfect.
Good.
So, as usual, guys, we should probably introduce ourselves.
Listen to that voice change. Yes.
Indeed. We probably should, but let's not.
Isn't that right, Damien?
The name's actually Michael this week. Michael Goodstein, service.
But in all seriousness, I'm Josh.
I am George.
I'm Scott for now.
Cool.
Wait, is 4 now like your last name, or is it just like...
You'll never know, will you? See?
No.
It's a mystery, a conundrum.
You are quite the enigma, Scott.
I
I'll
am
give
an
you that
enigma.
one. So what's everyone been up to this week?
Oh yeah, favourite part of the week. Shit, I haven't thought about that. I'll let you guys go first, because I'll have to think.
Scott?
Well, it's a good question. I also hadn't thought of that.
Okay, should I just have a conversation with myself?
Dive in there, George.
Yeah, right. So, George, what's your favourite part of the week been? I've literally done nothing except play Animal Crossing.
That's pretty good to me.
Almost 24 hours straight. It's so addictive. It's ridiculous. I'm just powering through it.
You getting that Nook grind?
I am. I've already taken out like 4 loans from Tom
He's got
Nook.
you in the palm of his hand, George. You need to stop.
To be fair, he's got a very lax repayment policy and 0% interest, so it's not that bad.
See, and now you're spreading his cult dialogue. You're justifying all of why he's great. It's like Tom Nook's great. He traps you in this cult, and then you get other people to join the cult for him.
Yeah, it's a really great way to spend your time. I think you're going to love it.
To be fair, I have been thinking about buying it. So,
my mum plays it downstairs in the dining room.
Oh, your mum's so cool.
I thought you were going to say like downstairs in the darkness, just like playing Animal Crossing. But tomorrow is Turnip Day, so I'm very excited for my first Turnip Day.
I don't understand turnips.
I kind of get it because of watching people play the game. It's like a stock market thing, Scott.
Yeah.
So, like, it's when they open up the stock markets and you can make a fuck ton of money. Apart from instead of stock, it's turnips.
Yeah. Basically, every Sunday, turnip person comes to your island and it's like, yeah, I want to buy some turnips. And it's usually a good price is like under 100 bells. So usually it's like 90 bells, something like that.
Why bells?
And then you spend all your money on that, literally empty out your savings, buy every single turnip you possibly can. And then you go on the internet and find other people's island with the highest turnip prices. And then you go there and sell all of your turnips. And you make like millions. It's fantastic.
What is this game? I thought you just built animal things.
I mean, that is also part of the game. But, you know, stonks.
Turnips and bells.
Yeah, well, it's just the currency. It's no different than any other game having a stupid named currency.
You could literally complain about any video game there, Scott.
No, I couldn't complain about a Star Wars one because they're called credits.
There's not just credits. There's the one from the Mandalorian.
Only Republic credits here.
I thought of what my favourite things maybe. There's 2 things really, and they're kind of related. First of all, while the Inside Gaming event was awful, and they showed literally no gameplay, and they were like Assassin's Creed Valhalla guys, and then showed maybe 30 seconds of a cinematic of it.
Did you enjoy that cinematic gameplay?
It looked pretty good. I mean, Stonehenge was in there. I like that period of history and mythology, so I probably will play the game. I just wanted to see what the game looked like. But my best thing of the week was seeing that fucking Scorn, after 2 years of not having any news, just casually turned up in a Xbox Inside Gaming, and announced that it was going to release with the next gen.
That's the HR Geiger looking one, right?
Yeah, it's basically about maybe like 3.5 years ago. They announced like a crowdfunder for the game, and they said that they wanted it to be a complete immersive sandbox experience where there's no cinematics, hardly any dialogue. You learn the story through the surroundings, and it's a horror game based on H.R. Geiger's original artwork, basically, which is amazing. I love it because Alien's one of my favorite films, if not my favorite film of all time. And most people ignore all the H.R. Geiger stuff in that film because when you really look at it, it's a load of fucking penises, and that's what it is. But the game looks amazing from the trailer that they showed, and they've obviously had a big crowdfunder that happened, and people started accusing them of stealing money off people, that it wasn't actually a game, it was a scam, and things like that. And they kept tweeting like, no, we've had a big investor, but if you've lost faith and want a refund, just contact us. And all of the comments on these posts would be people being like, fucking scammers, what are you doing? Oh, and then they just turn up at Inside Xbox at one of their 2 E3 events for the year. And it's like, fuck you. So that was great. I'm so glad that game is getting made and is probably releasing at the end of this year if everything goes well. And the second thing would probably be, I've bought a game called Control for the Xbox One, which got Game of the Year last year. And I noticed that and was really curious because I literally knew nothing about the game. And then I went to look into the game, and I remember a trailer at E3 that was shown. And I remember thinking, oh, this looks cool. It kind of reminds me of Quantum Break, and Quantum Break didn't do very well, and yada, yada, yada. So I wasn't that interested. I looked up the reviews, and they described the game as a David Lynch / Stanley Kubrick action game. And I thought to myself, if there's any way to get my attention in a sentence, they've just done it. Like, and I've started playing the game. I'm maybe about 3 hours in, and they nailed it with the description. The visuals are amazing. The characters are straight out of a David Lynch film, and the visuals are Stanley Kubrick based. It's amazing. If any of you are interested in that type of thing, it's on sale at the minute for 20 quid on the Xbox store, and it's awesome. It's so good. Obviously, I haven't finished it yet. I could hate it by the end, but as of now, it is awesome.
Yeah. So, Scott, we come to you in our hour of need.
My week has been pretty terrible because everything I own has just broken. So the best part of my week was when I fixed most of what I owned and made it kind of work. Hence why my audio's better and my laptop's now on. That's the best part of my week, which is not that great compared to yours, but...
Any news stories catch your eye?
Literally nothing. Literally nothing, no.
No.
No, it's been a hard week.
I can confirm that Scott was very angry on Xbox last night.
Yeah. I was done with it. It's okay, we're on Saturday now, so we're getting through it.
Oh no, we ruined it. Everyone thinks this comes out on a Monday.
We'll just edit that out. Would you like it's on Friday? I'll use that audio and I'll overlay it later on. It's all good. And then I'll leave this bit in so people know what's happened.
A thing to note in between, I imagine, the end of our introduction and what we're going to be talking about. There is a little bit of lag in the Discord chat, but some of us have moved around since the last podcast, so there might be some audio drops at points. Just to clarify. Ooh. Yeah, you're cutting out slightly for me, George, but obviously whoever's stripping the audio I'm out for anyway. But it doesn't matter. We'll put up with it.
Cool. Yeah. Nobody cares what I have to say anyway.
Yeah. So that came in the right time. So if we're moving on to The Mandalorian just straight away and talk about there's been Mandalorian this week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been mainly casting results. What was it? Like Kate Sackhoff, Boba. I can't say his last name.
Oliphant, yeah, I think.
It's been lots and lots of like this person's coming and this person's coming for the season. But you said it earlier, Josh. Is it fake? Is it real? And I'm inclined to think a smoke screen from what their true intentions are, or that these characters are going to be like side, not main. Like Boba appears in like half an episode, then like leaves.
But the interesting thing with that is that usually when characters aren't a massive part of a season, they do everything they can to hide them. Like if there's a big reveal about a character coming back for a season, they're always the one member of the cast that doesn't get announced. But with Mandalorian season 2, we've been told that there's like 4 different characters which are all like the big reveal characters and have small roles. So I have no idea what's going on with it, and I don't really know how much to trust the announcements because I don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
The more news that comes up, my hopes are like astronomical now. Like,
in Ahsoka, which is I can't remember the actress name. Doesn't Ahsoka, Boba, Tim Oliphant. Who else? I can't remember. Ahsoka came out really early, so I think I trust that more than anything. And then maybe this other stuff is just being put out there to hide that.
What's interesting? It's interesting because if we're gonna go by characters, the 3 characters they've announced are like Filoni, like they're all Dave Filoni stuff basically. Like we've got Boba, we've got Ahsoka, we've got Bo-Katan as well.
Like, Bo-Katan.
It's which on the one part gets me super hyped because it's like, does that mean they're going to be searching for Ezra? Because they're all the characters that were looking for Ezra and Thrawn. But then that has nothing to do with the Mandalorian story. So it's like
Rosario Dawson.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I gave it a Google. It was annoying me.
I guess if they're looking for, because he's looking for Force Wielders, wasn't he, to raise Yoda, so they could, in theory, come across Ezra and do it that way. Because Ezra would, he saw Yoda in the vision, right? So he would recognize what the baby is.
Is he looking for Force users? Is he looking for Force users?
The Forge Master describes to him that the Jedi Order, Space Wizards, that kind of. He described who they was, that they were the enemy of the Mandalorians. But as he found the interview, found them and gave the baby back over to them to look after and raise. So he's hunting down a Force. I think he's hunting down Force users, but not Sith.
I can't remember if that's. I thought it was implied that he was just bringing the baby up.
No, he was bringing it up until we found it's a proper place for it to live. Which it's people. Which I assumed was how she said it. I assumed that would be the Jedi Order, Luke Skywalker.
Well, I assumed that would just be other of Yoda's species, which I pray to God they don't actually find.
Yeah, no, I don't want that either. It will ruin the we know enough about his species. Knowing more would kind of ruin Yoda as a character. I think. Kind of. The mystery around him is what makes him great. And if I found out like his species like clones itself or has wings, it just kind of ruined the whole Yoda vibe that I have.
But
I feel like I would have noticed if they had wings by now, surely.
They just fall off when they get older.
But then we've seen Baby Yoda. He doesn't have
yet.
So they start with no wings, grow wings for like a year, and then they just fall off.
I don't know. They're long-lived. I don't know what goes on in their freaky little lives.
I imagine that's exactly what they're planning for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
It's fucking wings extend out its back and it just flies away.
Anyway.
I'd like that.
I was gonna say if because I don't know how they're gonna fit in the whole Ezra thing. I don't even know if they will, because there's rumors that there's a Rebels series in the work, like a sequel to Rebels, which surely that would be the Ezra thing. Yeah. If that is the case, where does Ahsoka and I can get how Bo-Katan would fit into Mandalorian season 2, because obviously she's a Mandalorian. But how does Ahsoka fit into it?
Force.
I know, but what context justifies those two characters meeting? Like the Mandalorian meeting with
Ahsoka? I don't know. She could be trying to start a new Jedi Order or some shit.
It kind of comes to my point where while I love all of this Filoni inspiration that they're obviously drawing from, it makes the universe seem kind of small. Like,
Right.
all of these characters that have had so much screen time and interaction and the entire galaxy of Star Wars are now all meeting again, you know? Like, the fact that the Mandalorian did a really good job at setting up new characters in the first season that we cared about. And now it seems the second season is leaning heavily on pre-existing characters, at least from the leaks, but again, they could be incredibly small roles. We don't know. And I'm not complaining that they've said that Boba Fett is going to be in it and things like that, because they kind of teased a character like that with the end of the, I think it was like episode 4 or 5, I can't really remember, where you see someone with spurs on their shoes walk up to the dead body of the assassin. So there's one character they teased there, and I guess that is Boba Fett. But, like, there's so many others that have been, like, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, there's rumors like Rex. It just makes everything seem so small to me. And while those characters are related, like, it would make sense that if you were to meet Ahsoka, she would still be talking to Rex, who would still have association with Bo-Katan. I would have been fine with just Boba Fett or just Ahsoka. That would have been enough for me.
Well, it might still be that. We don't know. But
true.
I quite liked the theory that Bo-Katan's involvement was going to be a flashback, because obviously, spoilers for Mandalorian, Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, doesn't he? The
Black Saber.
Black Saber.
Black Saber. I get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah, but I said it. Is that right? But
the interesting, you've just reminded me of something, because I was kind of convinced that in the last season of Clone Wars there was going to be a Moff Gideon connection, because then that would have been a really easy way to associate all of those characters together. Like if Gideon had met Ahsoka during the Siege of Mandalore or something. Because we didn't know what the Purge was, I assumed it was going to be something to do with the Siege of Mandalore. It might still be, because there was clone troopers left over during Order 66, but who knows? But they didn't do that, so there isn't a connection between those two properties, yet there's so many leaks at the minute that are saying that there is going to be a connection. It just seems there's a thread missing in my brain. And while I am incredibly happy that it's happening, I'm not going to say no to them joining those stories together. There is part of me which is like, well, now I kind of would have wanted to see what they would have done if it was just Boba Fett, or just Ahsoka, and we had all of these independent.
Okay. So let's say it is just one of these rumored characters. Which one would you want it to be?
If we are getting a Rebels sequel series, again, that's just rumors. I'm fine with just Boba Fett.
I think that's who I'd want as well.
If we aren't getting a Rebels sequel series and the rumors are false, then Ahsoka, so that you can tell some of that story in The Mandalorian.
I disagree with you there. Ahsoka is so prevalent currently. I want something different. That's why I'm hoping that that's a false rumor and that we do it. I mean, obviously, it's not going to mean she's going to be in it, but like you say, prefer Boba and not have any of the Clone Wars characters. Like, I don't want to see Rex in live action. I don't want to see Ahsoka in live action. I feel like that will ruin them, because especially Ahsoka, she will look very dodgy with the makeup on.
No, that's not true. Star Wars are great at prosthetics. Star Wars was born from prosthetics.
Yeah, but not as a background. Like, you don't have you saw the Twi'leks, right? In the Mandalorian, it was great.
Did you not see IG-11 in the first series of The Mandalorian? It was half CGI and half puppeteering. They can do the same thing.
I don't know. I just think that I don't want to see her in live action. I feel like it's gonna ruin it. It's gonna ruin her.
That's presumptive. I do agree. If it's like you're saying that the fact that it isn't Ashley Eckstein portraying her, I kind of agree there. But I mean, we don't know. It could be better than what we've seen.
It would be worse, though.
The thing is, why I would have preferred Boba is because Boba, I say both all the time, so there's a thing. But we literally only have Clone Wars for young Boba Fett, and then literally nothing but original trilogy. He looks cool, doesn't do a lot, dies. They could do so much. They could do so much for like that stage of the character by bringing him into the Mandalorian. Think about what Filoni did with Maul, who was very similar, looked cool, died,
Yeah.
and then Filoni cherry picked him and made him into one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So a property like The Mandalorian with a character like Boba, who has been kind of disregarded in terms of live action and just storytelling in general, I think that's awesome. But the Ahsoka thing is more just so I know there's a connection to Rebels somewhere.
Yeah. But just going back to what you said about Boba, if they bring him in Mandalorian, you're still not going to get any of that time filled in. You're going to have maybe it filled in what happened to him after the Sarlacc pit, but beyond that, it's not. That area still has nothing. A Boba series or film would probably fill it in, but they cancel every time they get cold feet, like you said in the last podcast.
Do you want to know how he got out there? I mean, I feel like that's not really essential.
I do want to know how he got out. I feel like
He killed it. He ripped out of the Sarlacc intestine. Like,
No, he probably just turned his jetpack back on because
Yeah.
his hand turned off and he fell in. So it's probably just like, oh, I just got to press this button. Then he flies out.
No, I just I don't know. I know what you're saying about wanting to know more about him, but I'm interested in to see how he reacts to the Mandalorian. Like you say, the Mandalorian's plight. That'd be more interesting for me because technically I know I've read this somewhere, but I know that he wasn't considered a true Mandalorian for like a whole bunch of reasons.
He isn't a Mandalorian. He's not a Mandalorian.
But he wore their armor, and I remember that.
Well, no, Django wasn't a Mandalorian either. He just
Well,
used their armor. Yeah,
all right.
they changed it in canon.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because
obviously, he used to be because everyone was like, oh, like in the Bounty Hunter game for the original Xbox, you played as Django, and he was clearly a Mandalorian. But they've changed it now.
Okay, I didn't realize they changed that.
They've made it so he's just a
simple man trying to make his way in the universe.
Simple man trying to make his way in the universe. But I don't know. I feel like Filoni obviously went completely balls to the wall with how he brought Maul back. He could do the same thing with Boba Fett, or he could just leave it. I mean, we've already had multiple extended canon reasons for how Boba Fett could have survived.
Yeah.
Every Star Wars fan kind of knows that he did survive, right?
I don't know. I also kind of feel like if you keep bringing too many characters back, it's just going to cheapen any death that is supposedly.
It's already happened. That boat has sailed when they brought the Emperor back.
Josh, the sequels aren't canon. Everyone knows that. Apart from Rey and Kylo kissing. That was definitely...
That was smexy.
Best scene in Star Wars history, by far.
I just... there's part of me which is like, while I love The Mandalorian, and I honestly don't like it as much as when I first watched it, if I'm being honest. The more I watch it, the more I get, like, dissociated. Because there was something about watching it on a weekly basis, a live new Star Wars show that was awesome, if you know what I mean. But the more that I watch it back, the more that I realize like the middle of the season was kind of just more of the same. And while it was great watching it the first time, on a rewatch it does kind of drag a little bit.
I still have my rewatch because obviously I'm getting through Rebels, but I'm excited to rewatch it.
Yeah, so apparently Scott's lagging. Scott is telling me what to say for him. Just Scott, every time you put a message in the chat, it makes a boop noise, which is getting picked up on my recording. Anyway, hopefully Scott comes back soon. Sorry for the connection issues. Scott, his laptop in general has been trying to murder him in the past week. He has been very angry on Xbox. And they're linking to the Boba Fett thing and Filoni characters. Do you think we will ever find out what happened to Cad Bane?
I don't know.
Because there was part of me that thought he was going to be the one with the Spurs.
Yeah, could still be. Nobody knows.
I don't know. I feel like the Boba Fett announcement and the Ahsoka announcements, they were covered by like pretty mainstream news articles and stuff. Like, I don't see them as not being there. I could see maybe the Boba Fett one being a ruse for Rex actually being in it.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, oh, Tamora Morrison's in it. He's not. He's playing Boba, guys. But that's such a dumb decision if that's what has happened. But I don't think it has. It'll be interesting. I just can't believe how quickly they're working on the show.
Yeah. Well, they filmed season 2 while they were filming season 1, didn't they?
They did.
Which is why
Yeah.
it's not being affected by coronavirus. But I don't know how far they got into production on season 3.
Well, they announced that the season 3 was happening and that production had started a few months back. So I imagine they probably got to the storylining, beating, and concept art process. With part of me which thinks they picked up a story thread, which they like a lot, and are just running with it, which might explain why all of these recognizable characters are being drawn into it, because if Filoni and Favreau came up with a storyline that can hone all those things together, they would just want to keep running it while it's hot, right? Strike while the iron's hot. I wonder whether this is all happening for them to set up the Rebels series.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Going back to Cad Bane, I don't know. Because I don't think there's any shows planned continuing in the Clone Wars thread.
You know what? Yeah.
Book-wise, they're doing the High Republic stuff next, aren't they? So if it is, it won't be for a while.
An interesting thing about the Clone Wars stuff is that an animator has said that if people want it, they will do more Clone Wars. But from the looks of things, the only more Clone Wars that could happen are the other missing episodes that we didn't get.
Yeah.
One of which is obviously the Boba and Cad Bane one. But it just strikes me as odd that Filoni would decide or put forward. He might not have even been the one to do this, but I assume he had some involvement. Bringing Boba into it without first addressing the gap that he was meant to tell in his story. I don't know, it's odd. But I could fully see them using this as a way to set up the Rebel series and the time period that the Rebel series will be covering. Especially if all of the rumors about the characters are true. Which, if that's true, George, my hype levels will go through the roof. Because it means we're going to be getting more Smexy Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I have reached Thrawn in Rebels. I don't know if I had when we did the last recording.
Oh yeah, what did you think of him so far?
I mean, apart from one tiny thing, great. Because in the Timothy Zahn book trilogy, it's like, even when he's really pissed off, he just like clenches his teeth a little bit, and it's barely noticeable.
Yeah.
But like the second time he's shown in Rebels, he like grabs an officer and growls in his face.
Yeah, I know exactly what's seen. And then he like strokes the officer's dust off his clothes afterwards. Yeah. It's very odd. I get that. The other thing I have a problem with Thrawn's portrayal in Rebels is he comes across as more of a villain. And he is a villain, but in the novels he's very middle ground.
Yeah.
For people who watch Transformers and know Transformers G1 and the comics and stuff, he's very Shockwave based, where it's logic first, and everything he acts on is logic, and he's doing it for the good of everything because he sees that as the logical way. He chooses the Empire because they are the commanding force in the galaxy and they can help the Chiss. It just doesn't come across that way in Rebels, and I know it's a show for kids, so they have to make the villains not be grey. They have to be black and white. But one thing I will say is Mads Mikkelsen's brother, Lars Mikkelsen, who voices him, nails the performance. Like, He for me is just that's what Thrawn's voice sounds like now to me whenever I read it.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
At the minute, for me, it's still the book version because I listened to all. Well, I listened to the first two on Audible before I watched Rebels, so that's the kind of voice I imagine him with. But I mean, I like to think as that as his voice because then that means that Eli Vanto's voice is Space Cowboy.
Well, you should definitely do a video on this Thrawn books, George.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot
100%.
to talk about. Because there's a lot of stuff I have with the last one, Treason, where I feel like it was kind of a cock tease when they were announcing that book. And then the thing that they teased, I'm not going to say what it is, but the thing that they teased never really happened. But yeah, I feel like Scott is probably dead and he isn't coming back. Is there the separate topic we're going to move on to, or is there anything you would like to
add? What, Star Wars wise, or just
on the casting news in general, and the stuff we've been talking about?
I kind of hope either none of it is true or all of it is true.
That's a very good way to look at it.
Because if they're gonna, I don't want to bring back old characters because they've done such a good job with the new characters.
Yeah,
like I don't think there's a character they introduced in Mandalorian that I didn't really like. Tatooine episode, the other cocky bounty hunter.
Yeah, I hated
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hated him. But he's dead, so it's all good.
The whole point of his character was to be like a cocky new bounty as opposed to the Mandalorian.
Oh, fun fact about his character, Orlando Bloom was originally cast to play him.
I think I remember hearing that at the time.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so either do none of it, or if they're going to go down that road, just bring fucking everyone back. Like, just give me the full shebang. I don't know.
It's odd because if they are doing that, why not just call it something more recognizable to what the character's already been in? It's odd. It's just I kind of think that it's more of a most of them are true and some of them are not thing. But who knows?
What else has happened this week then? Any?
Oh, I heard Scott's voice. Scott echoed from the Shadow Realm and said Batman. What specifically has happened Batman-wise this week?
Andy Serkis was saying a load of stuff in interviews, not this week, the week before, talking about how it's a gritty and dark adaptation. Yeah, that's
gritty.
The last two adaptations, to be fair.
No, every adaptation of Batman has been dark and gritty, other than Batman and Robin.
I was going to say, Adam West.
What do you mean that wasn't dark and gritty? It's interesting though, because we're in a strange space with Batman at the minute, or DC in general, where they're juggling like imitation Marvel and independent dark and gritty films. And I pray to God that they go with dark and gritty independent films, because Jesus Christ, am I sick of Marvel formula films. I'm just sick of it.
Yeah. Did you see the Joaquin Phoenix Joker statue that got announced?
That's like £2,000. Yeah, I did.
It's good. It's very good.
It looks awesome and like. Oh, hold on, is there an echo? There is not. We're all good now. There was an echo on my half, but it's all good. Jesus Christ, this has been a shambles so far. Oh well. Joker is probably real typical to say, but like compared to some of the other shit. Anyway, Joker is probably my favorite character of all time from anything. And Joaquin Phoenix's performance was as close as I can possibly fathom to a realistic version of the Killing Joke. And a lot of people seem to say that his performance specifically wasn't the Joker. It was like people like to say that it was an Elseworld story about a different reality version of the Joker, you know? And like I don't see that at all. He is the Joker in that film.
Yeah.
And people seem to be like, oh, if you know the Joker, he doesn't play the Joker. What are you on about? There's a scene in that film where he again, spoilers, but I imagine most people have seen the film. But
yeah, if you haven't, watch it.
It's amazing, and he leaves a latch on a door specifically so the person who's trying to escape him after he's killed someone who is a little person has to ask him to unlock it before he can leave, and that is quintessential Joker. It's forcing the audience to laugh at something which is just terrible. And it happens so many times in that movie where you're laughing at something that makes you feel uncomfortable for laughing. And it's just perfect for the film in general. And this brings me back to like the whole trying to mimic Marvel. Can you imagine if Marvel came out with a Joker? A Joker-style film? I don't even know what would happen.
He would definitely tell lots of jokes. But so does every character in the
MCU.
So
he would be more like Cesar Romero's Joker from Adam West, right?
Yeah,
he would just be throwing pies at people. No,
I mean that sounds pretty great, to be fair.
But like, I just pray that this Batman film that's coming up to bring it back to Batman is more like akin to the Joker style of storytelling, where they don't have to worry about tying it to a billion different story threads or a billion different other films. The script writers can just sit down and tell the Batman story they want to tell in as many stylistic ways or structures as they possibly want.
More specifically, the news that came out this week was Robert Pattinson said that he wasn't going to do a crazy, ridiculous workout routine while he was in quarantine to get ready for Batman.
Right.
Because he was like, well, Michael Keaton never did it. Like, none of the old school superheroes did it. Why do I need to do it? Like, he's not going to beef himself up ridiculously like Ben Affleck. He just wants to get fit, but not jacked.
Also, I'm pretty sure that this Batman film is near the start of his career, right?
Yes.
So he wouldn't be that big. He would be more detective style, which is what they've said that the film is going to be anyway. So I don't really see a big need for him to be that jacked.
No, me neither.
I am slightly worried about it.
A bit more jacked. He just needs to put a bit more padding in his suit. It's not.
Oh yeah, it's not that they couldn't prosthetic him to look big. Like, so easily done now.
Yeah, he's not small anyway. He's quite a tall guy, isn't he? He's quite, I think.
I haven't seen Twilight in years, so.
Have you seen The Lighthouse though?
Oh my god, you've just okay. That's what I'm doing tonight. Thank you. I completely forgot about that film.
I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude, that film looks so good. I love Willem Dafoe.
He's 6 foot. It's kind of tall.
The suit will make him like 6'1", 6'2", because of the boots.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? We probably won't get it for a while now because it had literally just started production, right? And then everything went into lockdown.
It started production. They said they were going to continue production, and then they stopped.
Because the last thing we saw from production was like the bike scene that they were filming in Scotland. Right. Was it? That's the last thing I can remember
Yeah, because
leak.
that's when the stunt double's batsuit leaked, right?
Yeah. It's also when he like tried to go around the corner and fell off the bike. It was pretty funny. He was okay, so I'm allowed to say it was funny. But no, I think that's so, and that was just before lockdown. And obviously, if they're filming in England, then, well, not England, the United Kingdom, then we are still in lockdown. So won't be out of it for the foreseeable future to continue filming. But
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that type of thing. I imagine there's going to be a period as well where a lot of people say they're going to start recording again and then have to cancel their continuations of recording, which is going to suck. But there's not really anything you can do. To move things on a little bit, we could talk about in terms of what we've been doing channel-wise this week, because we've been trying to produce a lot of different content specifically. And this is kind of handy for us all just to be talking about it as well. In one, and by all of us, I mean the ghost of Scott, me and you. Because I started a series that I think we could all contribute to at certain points called Story Time, which is, I don't know how much I like the title because every time I say it, I'm like, yeah, Story Time. But I think that may be a good thing for a title name for a series. Anyway, where I try and break down different elements of canon from various different media, which I would probably mainly be doing Halo and Star Wars, probably. And with Scott doing, I think he mentioned Fallout, and
he was one of the times his computer broke was when he was making a Fallout thing.
Yeah, there was another one he said as well, Fallout. Oh, BioShock. He said he was going to do a lot of BioShock videos, which they're two properties I literally know next to nothing about, which is kind of handy. And you released a Predator video, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I mean, I was going to talk about it on the podcast, but you guys were making solo videos, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. I've got a bit more time this week. And I attempted it. The recording went fine. The editing did not. That was a shambles, but Scott managed to edit it for me and get it out.
Fun fact, I looked at Premiere the other day, last night, after my drivers on my laptop decided to say that they didn't exist. So that was fun. I fixed that, though. And Premiere, my God, is it overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, everything on there is named something that isn't obvious. And it just takes, it took me maybe about 2 hours to figure out how to overlay stuff and then cut in audio with transitions. So I think for the foreseeable future, I'll be using my open source editing software that I have. And then in the meantime, trying to slowly learn Premiere until I know it well enough.
That sounds a good idea.
But yeah, I plan on this next week. Scott was planning on doing the next Story Time, which is going to release every Friday. I don't know how that's going to go with how his laptop's being at the minute and everything. If it doesn't go, I am planning on filling in some of the gaps from my Mendicant Bias story time from Halo, with things like who the Primordial is, who the Master Builder is, what the Logic Plague was, that is what caused Mendicant to go nuts, basically. And also the Didact and possibly Cortana. So there's a lot of implications for like the future of Halo with that stuff. So the next one I do probably will be Logic Plague. But I like the idea of it being like a collective conscious of our thoughts on different elements of stories from things.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you have any properties or thoughts you would like to talk about. I mean, with Rebels, you could do a Rebels, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, there's... I imagine pretty much everything I could do, you already also know about. So I feel like it's just, if anyone fancies doing a specific character, then it'll be like, oh, I'll do it this week. Because, like, obviously we both love Thrawn as a character.
We do.
So if we were going to do that, it would be like a fight to see who gets him. Obviously you'd get to do it because you've finished Rebels, but I'm getting there.
I think it might be nice to have your perspective after you've finished Rebels, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's characters that one of us prefers more than the other. So, like, if Rex was to come up, I imagine you would do Rex because you like Rex more than I do. I do like Rex. Just I would
Yeah.
prefer to spend the time talking about like Nihilus or something, you know. Another thing I plan on doing, which we may have two other members collectively helping join our little bubble of content. I've been reading the I'm a huge Transformers fan, and so is one of my friends. And I've been reading the IDW, our friends, I should say.
Yes.
I've been reading the IDW run of Transformers, which I had read up until about halfway through More Than Meets the Eye and Robots in Disguise beforehand, and I stopped years ago. But I've read the first section of it now, all the way to the end of Dark Cybertron, which is like their first big arc that they ended. Kind of like one of the huge New 52 events in Batman.
Right.
And not only, George, is there tons of music references. As in music that one of the issues was called Red Right Hand. Another issue was called The Gloaming, and another issue was called Remain in Light. Which, you know, Nick Cave, Talking Heads, Radiohead. So, I plan on doing maybe like a one-on-one discussion type series as well, where two of us just chat through something some media that we've digested. Whether that's like when Mandalorian season 2 comes out, me and you do it, or like whether you finish Rebels and me and you do a video like that. But me and the other person may be able to do some sort of shared video on the first arc of IDW Transformers. So I feel like that could be fun. And a good way to slowly introduce someone else to the channel as well.
You said two people, didn't you? Right?
Yes. My other person that has arrived here, and you mentioned earlier, George, Reese, has said that he wouldn't want to be a main part, but if we were doing like a specific film breakdown on a film, he would be gladly join in on that. The other thing with that is that he also has a reasonable editing base and things like that.
Well, he's got his own other podcast, hasn't he?
So yeah, he could help with that kind of things.
I mean, to be fair, I plan on. Well, he has invited me to go on his podcast. So, you know, I'll just shameless plug for a shameless plug. Yeah.
Cheeky plug. But the thing I suggested to him is if we were to do a breakdown of a Star Wars film or Alien or something, me and him, because we'd live together, could we're not gay. We could watch like The Last Jedi and then do a film discussion podcast on The Last Jedi. Because I know that we all have pretty differing views on that film.
Yeah.
We could do it with Alien, and then he could, like, you know, it's just new things we could do which could fill in space. Because obviously, I don't know what's happened with Scott, but I think Scott is also going back to his own house soon. So hopefully all of his connection issues and editing issues and things like that will be resolved soon.
What's Scott been up to this week? We'll plug for him. He uploaded a GTA video, right?
He did, yes.
This week. And then obviously he's been editing his Fallout video and stuff like that. That has not been released yet.
What I will say about that GTA video is, while I like the concept and everything of the video, I don't necessarily agree with everything that was said, if you know what I mean. Which is fine, because opinions are subjective and everything. But I feel like going forward as a channel, we should all be communing what our opinions on certain things are before they get released. Just as a precedent, because while GTA 6 has been announced, and it probably will detract eventually from GTA 5, I would argue that the announcement of GTA 6 will just do an immediate buzz around GTA 5. People go back to play the game.
Well, this week it got made free on the Epic Store.
Exactly.
So I imagine that will bump it absolutely did bump the player base. Literally every single internet provider in the UK pretty much went down at the same time because of how many people downloaded it.
Jeez.
Or were attempting to download it. Didn't go down, but the traffic just went like ridiculous. But yeah, I imagine that's a good thing, but also if you're giving a game away for free, then it's probably not got much left in.
I don't know. GTA,
You can look at it from both ways, can't you?
GTA 4 has been going for so long. It's still got a player base still today. And, like, I agreed with Scott's points on microtransactions and how they've been squeezing the economy of the game to get people to spend more on microtransactions. I guarantee the only reason they've been able to make it free on the Epic Store is because they're making an absolute mega fuck ton from microtransactions. It is definitely...
Well, you can't do anything. Like, even though it's free, you can't actually do anything.
No.
Like, on the online unless you spend money.
Yeah, so, and I just, when you think of microtransactions in general, it like, you pay for the game £55 at launch. I know you don't pay that for it now, but at launch you paid £55 on a generic microtransaction thing. Say you want to buy a sports car, that's an average of £20. So you're adding a third of the overall cost immediately onto the game. It makes more money than sales tenfold, which is why sports games are so just filled with them.
Well, I mean, I took the Predator video that I wrote was because they've added DLC. But I suppose there is a difference between DLC and microtransactions.
There are microtransactions in that game.
So hyped for that game when we first saw the trailer.
Like, there's loot boxes in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck.
I do like the voice tapes thing they've done for it, because it reveals more about Dutch's character and his story post the first film, which we don't know anything about, I don't think.
Well,
I can think of.
Fun fact, in Predators, instead of Lawrence Fishburne, it was supposed to be Arnie and Dutch, implying that Dutch had been taken to some sort of predator training grounds and had been surviving there all the years.
He was also supposed to be in the, but I think he had filming clashes or something, so it never. My God, I bet he's glad he's not in.
That was a pretty yeah.
Great film, The Predator. I don't even think you can call it a film. It's torture, I think.
It's also going back to the game. The fact that, like you were saying, they've included voice logs and things for Dutch is great. Love that idea. I always love when a game has little snippets of lore that you can pick up on. But surely it should be part of the main game.
Yeah, well, to be that is a free update, so everyone will get that. So it is part of the.
But why wasn't it part of the game at launch?
To be fair, it's in no way a story game, is it? There's only one game, and that's 4 Marines against a Predator.
Yeah, I just mean that, it's so. This DLC is so close to the official release of the game. It screams to me that they held back this content to be an update, and it rushed release, all of that awfulness that's in gaming at the minute. It just screams to me of all of those
things. Watching back the trailers and stuff when I was editing it, I do remember how excited I was that there was a Predator game. And then when I realised it was a PlayStation exclusive, and then kind of all right with it because it came out and it was pretty crap. I went on a roller coaster of emotion.
Kind of like the roller coaster emotions I went on when Aliens Colonial Marines was. But we all know what happened to Aliens Colonial Marines. Randy Pitchford just shoved it out of the door and it was broken as hell. It's probably the most notorious game for that type of thing, at least on the 360. And don't get me wrong, I think that this is probably an awful thing to say because a lot of people hate this man, but I think that Randy Pitchford gets a little bit too much of a bad rap. The dude obviously has made terrible mistakes and has forced his employees to do awful things. But again, we're seeing it from the perspective of a company and newspapers talking about the company's lead figure, right? We don't know the inner workings. We don't know what's going on, and it's very easy to jump on that. But fuck Randy Pitchford for what he did to the employees a couple of months ago, where he took away their promised bonuses for Borderlands 3. That was. Have you heard about that, George?
I remember reading about it at the time, and I think you telling me about it.
So basically, Gearbox employees for Borderlands 2 were paid a low wage with the promise that they would get a bonus from the overall profit of the game. And Borderlands 2 did so well that some people were getting like £200,000 bonuses. Like they were buying a house level of bonuses. And they said the same thing to them for Borderlands 3. But a few months back, Randy holds an old board meeting and says to everyone that these bonuses are void because the game didn't make enough money. So all the people who have been working on low wage with the incentive of it at the end are now not getting any of the money that they were promised in their contract. But there's a clause in the contract that says that is possible to happen. So there's on the one half, it's like it could be a pure business decision, and on the other half, it could just be a way of Randy siphoning some funds somewhere. But it's a messy one because you could argue as well that the employee should have been aware of that kind of thing. You know, if it wasn't set in stone, why sign up to it in the first place? Like,
yeah.
And then there's the whole like child porn thing around Randy.
What?
Yeah, he went to a medieval like reenactment bar for like a night out, and he left a memory stick. And the person that found the memory stick allegedly said that there was child pornography on the memory stick.
Oh.
It hasn't been confirmed, and I feel like if that was a thing, it probably would have been confirmed in the courts.
Yeah.
But it's another thing that people go on about. It's just, I don't know. I think the story's actually changed now to be that it was just porn on there.
Right.
But obviously people like to sensationalize things like that. But the dude is obviously dodgy. I'm just saying that we don't know the full picture of that type of thing. But it pulls me back to like how these singular figures and corporations and businesses can really just cause a game and their employees to look a certain way in media's light and also just ruin the game. Like,
yeah,
it happened with Battlefront 2 with EA. Like, we've talked about that though.
yeah. You were speaking about Alien Colonial Marines, though. That the other 360 Alien and Predator game was good. We picked that up a few months back, didn't we? And started playing it again, just randomly.
Yeah, it was pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, it was scary because there's like a wave mode, isn't there, where aliens just come at you constantly. Yeah, that was terrifying. I couldn't figure out how to turn my flashlight on for about 10 minutes. I was just shooting in the darkness.
I played that game when it came out. I played the absolute fuck out of the Alien story.
Yeah.
That was a fun game. Like this Alien and Predator are such a franchise that has so many ups and so many downs. Like both of them are roller coasters to binge watch.
Absolutely.
You got Predator, which is just like the first one's amazing, the second one is decent, and then like Predators is decent, and then everything around it, like AVP and everything, is just like trash.
I would say Predators is great. Not as good as the first one, but I do love that film. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. We should definitely do something to do with those two franchises.
We could do a podcast around it.
Yeah, because obviously Alien is one of your favourite, and also one of mine. I do really like it. But we are literally Alien and Predator.
Yeah.
If you had to define us, you would be Alien, I would be Predator.
Yeah,
Wait,
I'm
like I am a Predator.
I mean, who knows? But I am definitely a parasite who sucks off social worth from other people to survive. So, you know.
And I am definitely hunt for trophies. Oh.
But yeah, then you have the Alien franchise, which is perfection, trash. And then I actually really like Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
You know, I've still not seen Prometheus.
We should do that. Maybe we could do the next
I saw
podcast
Covenant,
talking about
Covenant.
that, maybe.
But yeah, I got the DVD for it and everything. I just never.
We should do that. Next podcast, we should talk about Prometheus. So we should do a video together.
Yeah.
Gives me an excuse to rewatch it as well.
Yeah. The one thing I will give Predator Hunting Grounds, it just reminded me, the trophy animations on it are great. They're basically like gore, but Predator is, yeah, that is probably my favorite part of the game that I've seen, but that's not really too hard. Also, everything in that game just seems to be in like bright daylight. I know it kind of was in the first film, but still.
It'd be nice if there was like a cave system section of the map or something.
Because like in the first film, it's really bright because obviously it's the jungle, but it's the jungle, so it's thick, so you can't really tell what's going on. And in that, it just seems like in a jungle, but there's like massive, like military compounds type things. So it's just wide open spaces.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because the first film makes a point of the only time it does cut to night is when it's one-on-one Arnie versus the Predator.
Oh yeah.
And he does that awesome ass scream on top of the mountain. Like, and there's not really, that section isn't really in the game.
No, it's true.
But yeah.
Also, Arnie's Twitter is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god, it's so good. Did you see the splits video he did?
Yeah, he sent it to me.
Oh my god, and he just walks around and it's the bottom of a mannequin and it's not him doing it.
He's always got a cigar on, playing with his pet donkeys.
Whiskey and Lulu.
Oh. What I wouldn't give to be quarantined with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And also he's doing so much to help like the community around him. I think he donated like hundreds of thousands of masks to a certain charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, he's a major political figure, Josh. You need to remember this.
Governor Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been going for around an hour now. There wasn't really a through line with this. We were kind of derailed with everything that happened, unfortunately, with all the connection issues.
It kind of forced us into a less structured podcast. So if people have a preference, then be sure to say. But
what I will say is I think we should upload this one still, but we should highlight the hell out of it. So like when we were talking about Mandalorian and stuff, that'll just be the highlight reel of it, like we did with Maul. Because then at least we can take the most structured and accessible part and put it up as an option as well.
Yeah.
Probably the best idea to do. But yeah, I'd say that's probably about it.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you for an hour, George, and it was nice talking to Scott, if he can still hear, for around 25, 30 minutes.
I like the fact he literally came back for about a second, said Batman, and then disappeared.
But yeah,
maybe trying to tell us that he is Batman.
It wouldn't surprise me. He's been listening to the rest of this conversation the entire time, but he hasn't spoken. So yeah, as I said, next week we'll probably do like a singular movie discussion or something. Maybe Prometheus, maybe a Star Wars film. And in the meantime, we'll probably release a couple of story times and things like that. Maybe if any news drops, news videos on that.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'd say that's about it. And I am about ready to end this thing.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. It's gone. Do it.